So very happy to be here with Bunny Drueke, who is having an absolute fantastic day. Uh, Bunny, first off, thank you for your time. I can't imagine what this day has to be like for you, 3 months in the making.
It's an awesome day. It is just an unbelievably happy day.
Tell me first and foremost, what has this 3 months been like now that you're able to talk with your son being home? Was there ever a moment in this whole process where frankly, you worried that perhaps there could be a different outcome, that he might not make it back home to you?
Stephen, the when I took him to the airport in Atlanta and I watched him walking towards security, and I realized that that might be the last time I ever saw my son because he was going into a war zone, and I know that soldiers don't always make it home. Um, it was hard, but I am so proud of him, and I was then, and I knew that he felt called to go to Ukraine, and that if he died over there, he was dying for a cause that he believed in, and I believed that it is a very just and good cause, and so I had to be willing to let him go. There were also times, especially recently, with the new Ukrainian Army doing their counteroffensive and doing it so successfully. But it's still, the closer they got to where we thought the boys were being held, the more danger the boys were being put in. And I figured that there would be one of three outcomes. They would either um, be moved again, or they might be uh, left, abandoned there at the prison, and then they would be liberated by the Ukrainian army coming through, like the concentration camps back during World War II. Or it could be that the Russians or their cronies uh, decided to kill the boys. And I knew that that was a chance. So we were trying to be very cautiously optimistic. And, it's something that mothers of soldiers have to face. So yeah, I had some low times, but
Over the course of this last 100 days or so, I know you had begun to become very close with the State Department in terms
yes.
of discussing this whole process that's been going on now for quite some time to make this day happen. With that said, did you have any idea that today or this next few days may be the day that this happened?
No, no idea at all. I think, the State Department had kind of said that they knew that things were progressing, and they weren't at liberty to say anything. So we felt like there was something going on, but I know that they were surprised today because the contact that we have had at the State Department that has checked in with us almost every single day, week after week after week, left this morning to go on a 2 week vacation. And there's no way he would have left if he had known this was going to happen. And the one he had put in charge of our case was the one who got to tell us the good news. Um, I'm sorry for him because he worked so hard to get them freed, and then he didn't get to tell us.
So, Bunny, take me to that moment. What was it like? What was going on, and where were you when you got the phone call this morning?
Well, this morning it was around 10:30 ish, between 10 and 10:30, and I was reading a book about trucks to my youngest grandson, my 3-year old, and he loves trucks. So he was really into the book, and I was making all the noises, and my phone rang, and I looked, and it said Saudi Arabia, and I thought, I don't know anybody in Saudi Arabia. Um, but I thought, you know, I think I'm going to take the call. What the heck? If worst comes to worst, I can just hang up and block the call. And I'm so glad I took it because this woman introduced herself, said she was with the U.S. Embassy there in Saudi Arabia. And I wondered, well, what has that got to do with me or with Alex? Maybe it's about Alex. And she said that she verified that I was who I said I was. And then she said, I have your son standing right beside me, and I'm going to hand the phone to him. And I was just stunned. And I said, Alex? And he said, hi, Mama, it's your favorite child, which it's a running joke with him and his siblings. And I said, well, you'll just go to any length to make that true, won't you? And he laughed too. And he said, I'm free. And I said, what? Because I thought I couldn't have heard him right. And he goes, I'm free. And I said, free? And he said, yes, I'm free. And I thought, I'm not even sure that I understand that word, you know. And I said, you're free? And he said, yes, I'm free. And I said, well, what about Andy? Because for us, it was the two of them. It was Alex and Andy, or Andy and Alex, and never, you know, we wanted them both home. And he said, yes, Andy is here with me. He's free too. And I said, that's wonderful. Has he talked to Joy, his fiance? And Alex said, no, he can't remember Joy's phone number because, you know, he's young and
Yeah,
just pushing on the phone, just pushing
no
that
one remembers
name.
numbers anymore.
Yeah, that's right. And I said, don't worry, I've got her number. So I looked it up and gave it to him so that he could. I know I heard him ask the woman if he could have a piece of paper to write it down. So, you know, he said that they were going to take him to the hospital and just to check him out, make sure everything was okay, but that he felt good. And, you know, that it's a long, it's a 14-hour flight to get from Saudi Arabia here to the U.S. And then he would have to fly on home, you know, to Alabama, because I imagine that they will fly them into some major airport. So they want to make sure that the boys are well hydrated and they're in good enough shape to withstand that trip. And I don't know how long a trip it was from Ukraine to Saudi Arabia. I don't know when they arrived. Alex said he really couldn't tell me the details of everything over the phone, but he would be glad to, you know, share them with me when he got home. And that was just such a wonderful sentence to hear, you know, when I get home. And um, so we didn't talk too long because he needed to get off the phone so that Andy could call Joy.
Was
So
that tough to get off the phone? I would imagine you would just want to keep talking and talking and talking, right?
Um, well, my mind immediately went to, oh my goodness, I need to wash the sheets and get them put on the bed. And I need to go and buy a roast because he's going to want roasted potatoes when he comes home. And I need to call my sister and let her know. And I need to thank all these people. I mean, my mind was just going
Mhm.
100 miles an hour. And and I had every confidence. He says, now, Mama, if you get another call from Saudi Arabia, it might be me. I might have a chance to call you again. So I didn't feel like it was a one shot chance like I did when he would call when he was in captivity because I never knew when I'd hear from him again.
You mentioned captivity and never knowing when you would hear from him again. It seemed like every time when I talked to you throughout this that you did seem confident, right? That you had a faith that he would come back.
Yes.
Where what do you credit that to? Where did that come from? And did it ever waver?
I never wavered in my confidence that Alex is strong, he's brave, he's well trained, he's stubborn. He likes a challenge. I knew there was nothing that they could throw at him that he couldn't take. And that he would be doing everything in his power to get back home. Because that's what you do when you're a POW. And so I had every confidence in that. And I also really, you know, to know that people around the world are praying for you and someone you love and the situation, it's very empowering and it's very humbling. And I knew that whatever the outcome, that it was okay. Everything was going to be okay.
You mentioned people all around the world. This was certainly a case that got a lot of attention through your efforts in a large part. And I say that to ask, how important was it when this first happened in your mind to get attention and for there to be attention on your son as well as Andy? And what part do you think that played in them coming home?
I think it was the most powerful weapon that we had. Um, First of all, we wanted to get it out because we knew that if if we got their names out there and we made it known, there was no way that Russia would be able to hide them or you hear people disappearing and you never hear what happened to them. We knew that the more we stirred it up, then the less they could hide them away. And if it had not been for the press being willing to keep our story out there and keep their names out there, I don't think we'd be sitting here today discussing Alex and Andy coming home. It really was so important that, and we felt such support from the press, from print media to television to it online. It just there's there's no way that I can ever express my gratitude for, well, my gratitude to or my admiration for our American press. And I feel so, so lucky to be in a country where we do have that freedom of the press. It was our most effective weapon, I believe.
One of the things we've heard in some cases involving people, right, who could be the subject of a hostage switch or something like that is that, I've read of people being told, hey, kind of lay low. I only bring that up to ask, was there ever any one telling you guys, hey, maybe you shouldn't talk about this so much, as we try to work back channels? Was that ever something that you faced through this process?
That's a really interesting question because I had always been told that, I had heard that. But when it happened to us, we found ourselves in that situation. Then, when I brought it up to our contact at the State Department, he reminded me of the First Amendment, which is freedom of speech. And he said, I can't really tell you what you can say and what not to say. And I said, then all I ask is, do you think it would hurt them for us to go public? And he said, I don't see how, I can't promise it will help, but I don't see how it could hurt. And we took that to mean that it would be okay. So we decided to step out in faith and make it public. And there have been occasionally times when the State Department might ask us to sit on something for a little while, but they never told us that we had to. It was always our choice. But they were so wonderful to work with that we didn't mind. We wanted to be partners with the State Department, not enemies of. And we all felt like they made us feel like we were part of their team and that we were all working together. It was a wonderful feeling.
One final chapter exists in this, right? Which is you guys being reunited. Uh, have you have any idea or semblance of an idea as to when that might happen, when he might be stateside and then also in Alabama?
Well, we're hoping that it will be in the next 2 to 3 days. It just really depends on how they check out at the hospital. And I know they're being monitored, and and I want them to be healthy, so I don't mind waiting. The embassy there has been great about keeping in touch with us all day today, just to help us to think about working out the logistics of getting them home. And they also wanted to reassure us that while we're waiting for them to come home, that they have, once they're released from the hospital, they have an apartment that they've stocked the refrigerator with food. They have hot showers. They gave them clean clothes. They've got real beds to sleep in. They're just treating them as like royalty. And So that's been very reassuring.
Certainly been an odyssey, I imagine, for both of them. I wonder, you mentioned Alex looking at himself as he is, as a soldier, right? And you mentioned the escalating violence over there. Could you ever imagine that Alex would consider going back to Ukraine, given everything that he's gone through these last 3 months?
Knowing Alex, I can't rule that out. I hope that he will stay here until the fighting's over. And then I would not be surprised at all if he returned to Ukraine to help them rebuild. It was something that he had mentioned several times before he was captured. And I know he loves Ukraine and fell in love with Ukrainian people. And from the ones that I've met that are here in Alabama, I had no idea we had such a big Ukrainian community, but we have plugged into them, and they're everything that Alex said: warm, friendly, brave, feisty, determined. I can see why he wants to be there to help them rebuild their country. So I don't know. It's up to Alex. I don't know really what all he's been through and how this may have changed him, but I would not be surprised if he goes back to Ukraine at some point, um, hopefully to rebuild.
Chapter in a different story. Well,
That's
certainly
right.
thank you for sharing your story with us, Bunny, and we certainly look forward to seeing you and your son reunited.
Thank you, Stephen. Thank you
All right,
so much.
thanks.